I just want
Is
to say
there any?
hello, guys. How are you? Nice to meet you.
How
JTP,
are you,
the
sir?
guy who runs the We Push Back.
I just wanted to jump in a little and just offer some clarity on the purpose of the we push back thing, because I know it started going down the road of organized crime and all that. And just to the we push back concept, it really has nothing to do with organized crime. The reason why it's so heavily involved that, and there's certain channels that focus on that, is because there are several informants who were part of organized crime that are now on YouTube. But the purpose of we push back is really about the lying aspect. It's irrelevant to me, and what I talk about is irrelevant as far as whether you agree with informing, don't agree informing. That's irrelevant to me. At the very least, they need to be telling the truth. And what's happening is these guys are then coming on to different parts of social media, and they're lying about people. They're recreating history. They're attacking families. So when I put together this so-called movement of we push back, it's just about channels that kind of align with that ideology, or maybe family members that were impacted, where now as they have a voice, where they could come to someone such as myself and tell their side of things. And then honestly, it's up to the public. All I ask is for the public to hear both sides of the equation. Read court documents when certain informants will try to reinvent what they said on the stand, or they change their story now. It's very important to bring attention to those things. So that's really the focus. It has nothing really to do with organized crime, nothing to do with gangsters. Now it's heavily on those type of informants, because they're the ones on YouTube trying to make a mockery out of people, trying to get revenge on people, threatening people. So for me, I think it's very important to bring that to the public's attention. So when they do find themselves serving on a jury one day, they're not going to believe the facade that's in front of them, and maybe they'll do a little more due diligence and really understand that perhaps everything that comes out of these individuals' mouth is not gospel. They need to pay a little more attention and give that defendant in front of them a fair trial. And listen, if they're telling the truth, that's how it goes. They're telling the truth. But when they're lying, now you're fracturing the entire criminal justice system. Now you're allowing people to get a get out of jail free card based on a higher target. So that's really the focus of it. And then there's channels like this channel, Mob Rats Exposed. There's another channel like Keen Shades, another channel, Assassinio. There's different channels where they'll in turn focus on a lot of the lies that specific informants are making. So I just wanted to kind of clarify the entire concept, where it's not an organized crime related theme. It's a judicial system problem within the United States.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I could see what I kind of suspected a little bit of that before, this idea of, I could even see it inherently that it emboldens certain people to recreate history, as you say, in order to get out of jail free. And then once they have that process happen, maybe once or twice, psychologically, it would seem to me that they would feel that they'd be, above the consequences that everyone else seems to have to live by. I just real quick, I'm curious on, we're doing a little bit of conjecture, if you will. What exactly is the motive from their point of view, right? You would think people who've been in this life were going to go away forever, got themselves a get out of jail free card by being dishonorable. Why wouldn't they just kind of fade away into the background and go back to living their life? Why come out in the open and start a whole new sort of campaign of causing enemies?
If I had to guess, I think it's a several tiered problem where their ego's involved, their desire to still be that persona that they had on the street, and also a little bit of getting back at maybe people that wronged them in their prior life. And in addition, I believe the number one focus is making money. They come on YouTube, they get a lot of fans, they get a lot of support. In turn, that generates revenue. So you have all those different elements working in their favor to kind of keep them going, to enhance the stories, to talk about different individuals. They're telling stories that really have nothing to do with them. They're actually telling stories about some people that they don't even know. I know directly a few informants come on and tell stories about individuals that when they walked in the courtroom to testify against that person, the defendant actually turned to their counsel and said, "Who is this guy?" And yet they're on the internet telling stories about them. So I think it's kind of a four-pronged approach where they have all these things, and YouTube and social media and the public put them on somewhat of a pedestal to make them somewhat famous for whatever YouTube fame may be. And I think that feeds their ego, feeds their revenue, and it's a little well-oiled machine that they're building for themselves.
Yep, amen. See, he can put things a lot more eloquent and better than I can. That's why I'm glad he came up here.
This is the mayor. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. That's the mayor.
I just
He's-
sound like a Carbone. I just sound like a Carbone up here, but yeah. I'm glad you feel it.
No, you were doing
Right.
good,
But
MRE. You were
he's-
doing good.
But they do. They do it for revenge. Their egos. They still want to be that mobster or would be mobster because someone like Jimmy Calandra never was a mob guy. He was a hubcap thief that hung around with Paulie G. So it's these guys who wish they wanted to be their mob guys, they couldn't, so they rat these guys out. They come on YouTube and try to live that life out here, make money with it, rewrite history, get back at some people that they don't like. Most of the people they put in jail and their victims' families, and I say, yeah, they're victims. The guys that they put in jail. That's how I look at things, and that, like I said, I might sound crazy to the average person, but that's just me.
The problem that I see and why I was so passionate and put together We Push Back is you see these individuals that are on here, and I open up the means of communication to the whole public where they could email me any cases on different informants that have nothing to do with organized crime, whereas maybe somebody in their family or somebody they know was lied upon. And the problem is this was going on for years now, unchecked, without the other side having any kind of voice. And again, it's not a matter of coming on and saying, believe us, don't believe them. That's not what it is at all. When I present something, I try to show facts, I try to show court documents, and I want the public to decide. And whatever they decide, that's how it is. But at least there's another side to that coin. You cannot evaluate a situation when you're only hearing one narrative. And for years and years, there was only one narrative. So it's very vital for the public, I believe, and to educate potential jurors and to inform the public that, okay, what these guys have been saying for many years now, it's not accurate. There's a flip side to that coin, and you need to weigh both sides before you render a decision.
Amen on that. Because there is two sides. Like he said, for years, like I told you, I watched John Alight lie and slander Gotti and his kids. That's what these people do. That's what they all do. Ghost Boy, Panisi, lies, slanders people. That's what they do on here. They attack people they didn't like, people they ratted on, attack their families. And they use this, and they use these content creators as a base to do it. Or they start their own channel and do it, and they go on others. And they attack. And there was no. So what I'm saying is, for years there was only the informants on YouTube side. And I started my channel. JTP had his. Then once he made the We Push Back thing, it's like, all right, now we got all these forces coming together to show you the other side of the narrative, flip side of the coin. And they couldn't deal with that. They threatened to kill JTP, wished all these rotten things on his family, on other people's families, threatened to kill all of us. These guys, and we love when they do that. You know why? Because we can show jurors in the future and other people, this is who they really are. And like,
just to interject one point on what you said, MRE, when they do go on their platforms and they make threats and they make these outlandish claims, I want the public to see how it is a two-tiered system in the sense of the treatment. What I mean by that is if I went on my platform and I started threatening these individuals, or I went on their channel and I started making threats like such as which I have received, that would be a big problem. I'd have no doubt that the federal government would take an issue with that and probably kick my door open. But yet they're allowed to go on day in, day out, and threaten this one, threaten families, abuse people, insult people with no ramifications. So being there's no ramifications, it's important to spotlight that. It's important for the public to see, look what takes place day in, day out for people who are incarcerated, people's family members. Day in, day out, they get tortured. There's no opposition to it. There's no voice for it. So I kind of took offense to that personally, and I figured, well, let me be that voice so people have something to say. And I've been in touch with family members. I've been in touch with defendants, and a lot of that's going to start happening. A lot of the things that are being said by a lot of these current informants, you're going to get another side to that. And then again, it's up to the public. On my channel, on the website, I try to present documents, court documents. I do series where I'll play the testimony of these informants to show their character, to show what goes on during the investigative stage, because they want to come on here and also paint themselves as saints. Well, they're not really as innocent as they make it, and the things that they're up to and the things that they do, even while they're part of the system. And I just feel the small little contribution I could make to improve the justice system, which isn't a big contribution, it's minuscule. But if my voice and my actions and my demonstration could maybe make one juror think about things a little differently, and have an open mind and give somebody a fair trial, to me, that's a win.
Amen.
So basically, what you're saying is that you believe that a lot of these people who may have even killed multiple people are still being protected to continue a life of criminality after they're on record as such because
Well,
they're
it's not even.
working with certain organizations.
Yes, it's not even something I believe, Paul, to be honest with you. There's studies, there's statistics where they show how the guy, and all of those articles are on the wepushback.com website, where a lot of these informants, even after they're working with the government, continue to make crimes and they get free passes, continue to do serious offenses, and yet they get free passes.
For example, Sammy Gravano, after he ratted on Gotti, right? What did he do? He went and sold ecstasy with his children, and he's a child killer. He killed little 16-year-old Alan Kaiser, who was just walking home. He killed a kid, and then, like I said, when he went and sold ecstasy, literally.
And Paul, one other important point I just want to make, but it's very important that I always stress for the defense team to focus on all of these channels and all these podcasts that these informants are putting out, because what's happening, and I was part of a Rule 33 directly, which is newly discovered evidence. What's happening is a lot of these informants are coming on here and they're telling tales that completely contradict to the stories they swore an oath to in court that is responsible for putting people away for life. So it's vital to then capture that, present it to the court and say, wait a minute, there's two different stories here. So a lot of what they're doing, they're talking, it's very important for the public and especially for the defense teams of defendants that were impacted to take notice, make notations, record the information, compare it to what was testified against. And that's really how the whole kind of concept of we pushback works. It's really just getting all those things, spotlighting all those things and putting them to use in a positive manner.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you kind of lay all that out, I don't know what the contingency of folks who are affected by this are down there. But, I guess if there's a certain number of people who have family members who are no longer around due to the false testimony of folks who are not reputable and are still doing criminality after the fact, yeah, I mean, that would be an issue, I would say.
Correct. I believe if anybody believes in the justice system, again, it's irrelevant whether you believe in snitching, not snitching. That's not what it's about. It's about telling the truth. If it's in your character to be an informant, so be it. But at the very least, you owe it to the Constitution. You owe it to the jurors. You owe it to the government. You owe it to the judge. You have to tell the truth. If people start lying, costing individuals their lives, well, now that just throws a huge monkey system. How could things be trusted? How could the element of due process even play out in a fair manner? So that's what I try to stress and I try to break down for the audience.
Well, I mean, that brings in a whole other conversation. I don't know how much you want to get into that, but
I think we can cover this part.
Yeah, I mean, my whole existence and channel is exactly about that. The complete failure of what's been termed the justice system, largely in part due to what I perceive as a complete misunderstanding of how it all works.
Yes, and I agree with you. And I actually focus on that on my Justice Tech Pros podcast. That's what I talk about, all the perils that exist within the system and all the fractures and things that go on. And I have guests on who have all types of issues that they experienced firsthand. Because again, is it going to make a huge difference? I don't know. But if I could get the public listening to it, talking about it, hey, maybe educate some jurors. Maybe people start getting a little bit more of a fair trial. And then maybe we could get things somewhat where that balance of the judicial scales tip a little bit in the favor where it's almost equality. Will that happen? No, it's not going to happen. But that's a small part that I could contribute. And that's what I try to do.
All right.
Yeah, amen to that. I'm so glad you did start that up because it's one of the best things that happened on here. And if you get a chance, read the book "Guilt for the Guiltless." And the four men that I told you about, this is one of the men's sons right here. His dad is one of the four men who are lied on and put in jail, and they are coming up. When are they going in front of them 3 appellate judges?
Well, the response is actually they have to respond August 13th, and then we respond. So you figure by early next year, the judges will have it in their hands.
Yeah, when you get a
Yeah, I
chance,
mean, Paul,
read
you
the
could
book.
always check out the website. You could check out my website. You know, any questions you ever want to dialogue, I'm totally open. You're a very logical, rational individual, which on YouTube is a rarity. So it was it was a pleasure speaking with you. It really was.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'll check in from time to time. Maybe we'll cross platform, see where it goes. But yeah, I mean, take it wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, sounds like. Well, listen, I'm going to hop off, gentlemen. Paul, again, it was a pleasure. MRE, thank you for having me on. Enjoy your 4th of
You too.
July.
Happy 4th.
What was your name again, sir?
My name's Dominic Crea.
Appreciate you, Dominic.
Same here. Take care.
We'll talk later.
Yeah,